it's Katie. I hope you are doing well today. We are going to dig into our art journals today, and it's been a while since I've created something in my art journal. And I don't know if you all remember, but a couple months ago I did my first grid journal, and I absolutely loved it. So I've been kind of antsy to create a new one. So I am going to do that here today. As I'm getting started here, I am just tracing a business card of mine, which is 2.5 by 2.5 inches. You can use anything you'd like for this, and you can create any size grids that you would like. Of course, you can get as serious as you'd like with this. If you want to measure out the space between each of your squares, you can do that. But as you see, I am just kind of winging it here. And another option with the outline of the grid is you can use more of like a Sharpie or a black marker to create a more vivid separation between each of the grids. But I kind of prefer doing it with pencil so you don't see those outlines. And my main focus for my journal page today is to really slow down. And that's why I like grid journaling so much, because it forces you to kind of pay attention to each grid at a time versus creating a larger piece where there's a lot more movement and you're working a little bit faster. So this is a very therapeutic practice. It can really help you kind of focus in on what you're doing and be present. And I think more and more that's what we're all craving these days. So please feel free to lean into that and enjoy just the slow making here. Now, I recently bought a couple of these really fluorescent paints, and I had to leave a lot of my paints back home before our move. So this is my first batch of fresh paints here, which I'm pretty excited about. And so I'm going to be kind of testing these paints out and incorporating them in the background of each of my grids just to kind of see how the color comes through. Plus, it obviously adds a bit of a pop and definitely plays into my apparent need for fluorescent bright colors these days. So I'm going to be combining those with these fluorescent pencils I have. And all these things are just very, very affordable. I have yet to really put my money into some high-end art materials since we've moved to Lisbon. I'm sure I will get there, but for now I'm kind of in a space of just playing and experimenting and making things more as a form of therapy than any kind of art that I'm going to be selling. So that's just kind of where I am right now, which is why I'm just loving dabbling in my journal and creating some zines for fun. And I think that's part of understanding where you are as a creative or as an artist. It's hard to go all the time or to make something for someone all the time. Sometimes you just have to step back and experiment and play and do some of the behind the scenes creative work that kind of feeds the soul and, as I said, just acts as more of a therapy than anything else. So regarding how I am putting this grid journal together, as you can see, I'm just taking a lot of my little scrap papers that I've collected, and I'm using just regular Elmer's glue here and painting and using my paintbrush to apply that. There's really no rhyme or reason to the way I create collage other than kind of just being intuitive about it and seeing what aesthetically works for me. I try not to overdo any of my collage work. I like to leave some white space or some open space where it's not so busy, but then I also like to balance that with spaces where there's just a whole lot going on. So again, this is just a good space to play around and try some different things with your collage here. I do like to, one thing that I tend to do consistently is create some kind of background on my page before I apply any paper. So that's where that thin coat of paint comes in, or some of my colorful markers or colored pencil comes in, just to create some line and movement before I apply any paper. And as you can see, some of the paper that I apply is very sheer. A lot of the tissue paper that I use or tracing paper, you can see the colors come through behind it, which I love that because it really adds a different depth and look to your collage work. It almost makes it look more profound, I guess, than it really is. And another type of collage paper that I tend to incorporate into my work is just simple black and white designs, such as this little page here with the black and white lines, or above I use the black and white polka dots. I just really love the contrast that using black has with these fluorescent colors. It's kind of over the years become, I guess, my trademark a little bit, my style. I just really enjoy seeing that contrast and the brilliance that using black can bring to a piece. And if you're interested in incorporating this kind of paper into your collage work, I do have a couple different bundles of collage paper that you can purchase on my Etsy shop. I have a bundle that is specifically different dots and circles. I have a different bundle that is lines, and then I have one that is numbers and letters. So you can use one or all of them if you'd like to try them out, and I'll include the link for those in the notes below this video. All right, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and speed up the video, and you can kind of see this journal page come together. But again, I really encourage you to take your time with this, experiment with different techniques as you're building your grid, and feel free to leave any questions or comments below. I always love hearing from you guys. And with that, I will meet you at the end of this video. All right, if you made it that far, congratulations. I didn't realize how not straight my camera was set up, so I apologize for that, but you get the idea. So as you can see now, all the grids are filled in, and I am just going back and adding just a little bit of details, which right now is a little pieces of washi tape. And if I see any spaces that I feel like need to be filled in or some details added, I will go back and do that. But you can see that it came together really well. It's funny with grid journaling because you start one at a time and it just feels so slow and you can't quite see how it's going to turn out. It doesn't seem like it's very cohesive, but then by the end, it really does come together, which is, again, why I love grid journaling. You can also see how all the papers that I included that have some sort of black lines or shapes in them really stick out, and it creates this movement within this piece. So even though they're all individual pieces, there's certain elements that make it more cohesive. So if you've given grid journaling a try, I would love to hear how it's going. If you have a favorite way of going about it, feel free to leave a comment below and let me know. Also, if you're enjoying these videos, go ahead and subscribe to my channel so you can get notified every time I share a new video, which is usually weekly. This summer has been full of visitors here in Lisbon, so my schedule is a little off, but I tend to post once a week. And anytime you like or comment on my videos, that's always helpful for my channel to grow in a good, healthy way. So any support you can give, I really appreciate it. All right, and I think I am going to leave it at that. I love how this turned out, and I want to know how yours turned out as well. Grid journaling is so fun, and thank you all for watching, and I will be in touch soon. Cheers!